Shalonda's Short Stories, written by Shalonda Reese. Story number 12, Starry Wisdom. In an ancient land far away on the western side of the world was a city known as the City of Dusk, a city full of hope and honor. It was a Saturday, the day that Starry Wisdom would first set sail. It was scheduled to sail across the seas to several destinations in the Asia Pacific. "All aboard!" roared the captain. The passengers gathered about, ready and eager to set sail. "What a beautiful boat! I can't believe that in this day and age something so grand can be built by the hands of man," exclaimed Arthur. "Well, man is God's greatest creation," chuckled Henry. The boat was magnificent in size and beauty, decked in blue and red with an outline in gold. It boasted a passenger capacity of 3,500. Arthur and Henry boarded the boat. They were twin brothers, 22 years old, with plans of opening furniture stores across the world. Their uncle, who had no sons, died 6 months ago and left them a fortune of $14 million. They were of average build and height, with straight white teeth. Arthur had curly black hair, and Henry had straight black hair. That is how people told them apart. "Excuse me," a young lady bumped into them. "Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. How do you do?" Arthur retorted. "Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I'm just being clumsy. My mother and I are trying to make our way to our cabin. I got lost." "What's your cabin number? Maybe I can help even though I haven't gotten to mine yet either." "Cabin 237. "Well, look at that. My cabin is 239. We're neighbors. I'm Arthur. This is Henry." "You're twins." "Sure we are. But you could tell us apart by our hair," Arthur said. "How do you do, ma'am?" Henry asked. "I'm fine, sir. This is my mother, Sylvia." "How do you do?" Sylvia asked. "It is a pleasure to meet you, Sylvia," Arthur said as Henry nodded. "Tell them your name, dear," Sylvia whispered. "Oh, silly me. I am Priscilla." "Lovely name." Arthur bent down and kissed Priscilla's hand. Sylvia smiled and Priscilla blushed. Sylvia had been hoping that her plain daughter would get married soon. Arthur looked to be a well-to-do gentleman, but she did worry if he was just being polite. She did not want her daughter to become smitten with a man who would have no interest in her. "Follow me and we shall find our cabins together." Sylvia and Priscilla followed behind Arthur and Henry. As they were walking, Henry looked back at them with a smirk on his face. "Are you attracted to her?" Henry asked. "What gives you that impression?" "You have never kissed a woman's hand unless you... Can a gentleman not be polite?" "But you're not a gentleman," Henry joked. "She does not seem to be your type." "And what is my type?" Arthur challenged. "Beautiful. That is your type. And you do not think Priscilla is?" "She's cute, but not in a beautiful way." "She's cute in a plain way." "Beauty does not equal good character," Arthur said smoothly. "I cannot believe my brother is talking like this." They rounded a corner and went down a small flight of stairs. "Now, Priscilla, they both seem like nice gentlemen, especially Arthur." "Do you think they are rich?" "At this point, that is none of our business. But if you find out that they are, let me know," Sylvia said tersely. "Do not get your hopes up on this one, Priscilla. Remember what happened last time. Men, sometimes, they will act like they like you, and as soon as they see a young woman who they find to be prettier, they will find a way to try to replace you with her." "Ma, can you not talk like that?" Priscilla asked, hurt. "It's the truth, Priscilla. Don't be naive." Deep down, Sylvia hurt worse than Priscilla whenever Priscilla was rejected. She wanted her daughter to experience true love. She knew her daughter was not the best looking girl in the world, but she was not ugly, and she had a great heart and was very smart. Priscilla, remember, you're smart, and you have a good heart. That goes a long way in life. They last a lot longer than beauty. I know, Ma, Priscilla said, hurt. She did not like when her mother reminded her that she was a plain Jane, as if being average looking was a deficit. She really liked Arthur, but she knew that a guy like Arthur would probably go for the prettiest girl in the room. Here we are, Arthur said, pointing to their cabin. Thank you so much, Arthur, Priscilla gushed. Thank you, Sylvia said politely. That night, Priscilla could not sleep. She listened to the gentle ocean waves as she lay in her bed. She thought of Arthur. Priscilla retrieved her journal and began to write. She was distracted. She could not concentrate, yet she had so much to write about. She quietly got out of bed, put on a dress, and went to the deck. There were few people out. It was mysteriously quiet. She sat down and looked out at the night sky. The wind blew lightly across her face. She continued to write, lost in her world of poetry, until a voice startled her. You're a writer! Priscilla turned around. It was Arthur. He had on a plain t-shirt and tan-colored pants. He looked very down to earth. Priscilla immediately felt that maybe she was more on his level then. Yes, I write poetry. On what? Poetry on nature, life, myself, anything that gives me inspiration. Can I read it? Sure. Priscilla handed Arthur her journal. Arthur began to read aloud quietly. On a sea far away, traveling with the ocean's sway, changing in the presence of time, capturing what could be mine, I take and grasp the liberty of space, relying deeply upon God's grace, to serve with a glimmer of heart in gift and talent of my great art. Priscilla nervously awaited Arthur's response. He stared at the paper for a moment and said nothing. Well, what do you think? It is nice. A beautiful poem. He handed her the journal. You're talented. Priscilla took her journal and studied him for a moment. The truth was that Arthur was very touched by her poetry and deep down wanted to marry a woman who was talented in the arts or had a love for the arts. He loved paintings, the orchestra, the theater, the opera. They were an escape that took him away from his miserable life. His parents died before he and Henry were both teenagers. They were raised by their grandparents who died 2 years later and then went to live in an orphanage until they were old enough to live on their own. During those years, he and Henry would go to the theater and watch plays and pretend to be the characters in their imaginations. They only had each other, but Arthur wanted to have his own family. Do you like the theater? Arthur asked. Priscilla beamed. I love the theater. I go at least once a month. I approached the theater manager over at Sun Moon Theater to have a poetry reading night. He is considering it. That would be great. I will come, Arthur smiled. What is the meaning of your trip? Priscilla asked. Henry and I are business partners and looking to expand. Oh, that's nice. Priscilla paused, waiting for an explanation. He gave none. My mother and I are visiting family and friends. It is summer and she is a school teacher and I'm on break also from school. Oh, that's nice. Henry did not want to talk about his family because it would depress him, but he felt comfortable around Priscilla and thought she would make a great wife. He felt embarrassed, thinking that you should really try and get your work published. I am working on that. I'm glad I found you here, Priscilla. I could not sleep, and I got up just to get some ocean air. Priscilla chuckled. Me too. I was writing and got stuck in my thoughts and came up to the deck to get some inspiration. Arthur paused. He didn't want to scare Priscilla off and did not want to seem desperate. Priscilla? Yes, Arthur? Suddenly, a loud gush of wind intruded in on their private moment. The boat started to rock. Some people woke up from their sleep. The wind tore through the boat. What is happening? Priscilla shouted. I don't know. A windstorm, maybe? The boat started rocking as if it would tip over. Arthur became very nervous. We may need to get our life jackets. They ran to their cabins. Sylvia was awake and startled. Where were you? What is happening? Arthur said it is a windstorm. Arthur? Windstorm? The wind whistled harshly. This is just our first night. This is not a good sign. I knew we should have stayed home. Sylvia started to pray. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Arthur burst in. Here's a life jacket. Sylvia stopped praying to put on the life jacket. Where is Henry? Sylvia asked. I don't know. I was looking for him. Can you swim? Arthur asked. No, neither of us can, Priscilla said. People were running and screaming. Sylvia hung on to Priscilla, crying as Priscilla hugged and comforted her mother. This is your captain speaking. This looks like a windstorm has caught us. Get your life jackets. Save yourselves. I repeat, save yourselves. Arthur ran to the deck looking for Henry. People were running across the deck crying and screaming. Some people were in a corner hugging their loved ones and saying silent prayers. An elderly lady was frantic. I am by myself and I do not want to die. The boat started to tip even more. Henry ran to Arthur. Henry! They hugged. Where were you? Did you hear the captain? Henry asked frantic. Let's go! I cannot leave Priscilla and her mother. I have to check on them first. Are you crazy? They can take care of themselves. Come on! The boat continued to tip. People were jumping in the ocean. Arthur hesitated. I came. Henry gave Arthur one last pleading look. He kissed his brother on the cheek and jumped into the water. Arthur ran back to Priscilla's cabin. Protect us, Father. Send help our way. Please keep us. Priscilla and her mother gripped each other with their eyes closed and tears on their cheeks. They did not know Arthur was there. As Arthur watched him, he felt a pang of jealousy. Everyone who he loved dearly in his life abandoned him, even if it was no fault of their own, even his twin brother. The boat tipped even more. Priscilla and Sylvia opened their eyes and saw Arthur. This is it, Arthur said as the ship turned over. Cold water hit Priscilla's face. She gasped, but felt very calm. After a moment of struggling, she was floating on the water. There were people floating in their life jackets, calling their loved ones' names. Priscilla! Mom! Priscilla and Sylvia were ecstatic to hear each other's voices. Priscilla felt a hand on her back, pushing her through the current in the water. It was dark and she could not see. Mom, which direction are you? The hand kept pushing Priscilla. Priscilla thought that it was the pressure of the water current. After a few moments, she finally saw her mother. Sylvia was moving along also, and they were both going along in the same direction. Tom, a photographer, rose from his bed as he heard some commotion outside. He looked out his window that faces the ocean, and he grabbed his binoculars from his drawer. He gasped at what he saw. He ran outside with his binoculars and camera. He ran across the sand as fast as he could. He took pictures as quickly as he could as he was running. When he made it to the two women, they were shivering. He helped them to land. Thank you, sir, Priscilla said. The next day, as search crews were out on the water searching for missing bodies, Tom went to get the pictures developed. He knew that he could get a lot of money for them, especially being on site where the tragedy took place. When Tom looked at the prints, he gasped. In the pictures were a light hovering above the two women. Is this an angel? Tom remembered them being the only two who made it to land where he saw them. Maybe there were some other survivors, Tom thought. Tom went to City Journal newspaper. The following day, the newspaper had a headline that read, "Angel saves mother and daughter." Extra, extra, read all about it. People were coming out of their homes and grabbing up the newspapers. You really think this is an angel? This is a trick of light. No, I believe it. How is it that they could not swim but made it to the land? Well, because they had on life jacket, idiot. Or God sends his angels to help people. There are a few people who are accounted for. Starry Wisdom. The boat barely made it out. It wasn't meant to be. This is a story that does not have a definite ending. Priscilla and Sylvia both reported feeling a hand guiding them across the ocean. Arthur was never accounted for, and Priscilla conjectured that maybe Arthur was the angel. Sylvia said that was nonsense because angels don't have twin brothers. Starry Wisdom, the most beautiful ship, never set sail again. Today, Starry Wisdom sits in the old treasure museum on display in its majestic beauty. My question to you, what do you think happened to Arthur?